Alright, so we're going to go over how to make a mandala in Adobe Illustrator. For those of you who are interested, a mandala is basically a map of the universe. It comes from some really old technology. Basically, it's a radial design that comes out from the center point and moves out in a circular fashion. And other than that, let's get down to the Illustrator part of this. So we've got different tools that we're going to work on today. And there are different functionalities in Illustrator that you need to get familiar with. So over here, we've got the selection tool. You can hit that by getting, or you can press V by getting to that. That will select a whole object, and you can move it, transform it, or spin it. Next tool, direct selection tool. You can hit A to get to that. And once you get to the direct selection tool, you can edit points within an object. We'll see that in a little bit later. And here we've got the pen tool, which allows us to create multiple points in a polygon. A line segment, which will only allow us to have a beginning and an end point. So basically that's a 2-point functionality there. So you're not going to be able to do more than 2, which is why we have the pen tool. So you can do at least 3, 4, 5, 6, as many points as you want. Over here, we have the rectangle tool. You'll notice that there is a white triangle in the bottom of some of the tools here on the tool palette. And the white triangle tells us that there is more stuff underneath there. Look at all this stuff. So down here we've got a polygon tool. We're going to get to that later. That's going to be a lot of fun. One of the other major things we're going to work with is the rotate tool. If I hold this down, there is a reflect tool underneath there. We'll be using both of those. The zoom tool, the hand tool. Zoom tool should be pretty obvious. We're going to be able to zoom in and zoom out, check things out. Hand tool will enable us to move things around once we are zoomed in. We've got a layer tool, which helps us with our organization. And we've got a symbol tool, which is really freaking amazing. You're going to have a great time with that. Colors, swatches, all kinds of stuff that we're going to get into. So we start everything off by going to File, New, or Control New. You'll notice here that we've got millimeters. You can set it to points or picas, which is kind of old school. You can set it to inches, millimeters, centimeters, not so much. Don't use that too much. Pixels is also very useful for those of you who want to be web designers. Over here, our page size is preset to 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters. So if you set something up in Illustrator, it will default to whatever your last page was. So the last thing I worked on was a failed attempt at this tutorial where I ran out of time. Basically, you can only do it in 15-minute increments. I learned something. So, let's move on. We're going to hit OK. Here we've got a 200 by 200 millimeter box. You can come in here if you need to change things under Document Setup, and you'll notice we've still got our millimeters. Hit Edit Artboards. You'll notice I've got 9 boxes all the way around here, one to show me where the center is. Alright, you'll also notice 9 boxes here. Not a coincidence. This box down here is set so that it is the point of origin. So if I were to change this point of origin and make this 100, 100, oh my goodness. There we go. So that's changed. This will constrain things. You'll see that I can constrain proportions. So if I turn this on and make this 200, watch what happens. It just grew outside of my page. And I can show you this by hitting Control 0. Not doing me a whole lot of good right now. So if I turn this back off, come over here, make this 200. Our page size is what we want. If I hit Control 0, it will fit my page size to fill the window. That's also very useful. So let's go back over here and move back to the selection tool. The first thing we need to do to create our mandala is to give it a shape, and we want an outside shape. I'm going to go over here to the polygon tool, and I'm going to click on this, and you'll notice that when I move my cursor around, there's all kinds of goofy stuff going on, something that says center. The reason we're getting that is if I come up here under View, we have Smart Guides turned on. you can turn this on and off by hitting Control U. Sometimes you need this, sometimes you don't. The smart guides will let things snap to existing points or helpful things in the middle of your artboard, like the center. So let's come back over here. We've got polygon tool selected, and I'm going to move this around just a little bit till we see. Hold on, are we in Control U? There we go. So I'm in the center, and I can hold down the Alt key, and I get a dialog box. 16 sides is not a coincidence. 50 millimeters is a good size for us. So if I hit OK, now I've got a 100 millimeter wide polygon, and you'll notice that it has a box around it. So if I come over here to use the direct select tool, I can rotate this. I can always hit undo, which is Control Z, right? And I can scale this. Hit Control Z again. If I hold down the Shift key, I can constrain how I do this. Control Z again. It's very useful stuff. Another neat thing that's going on here that you may not notice is that we have a black stroke. Notice it says stroke. And a white fill. So the white fill can be reversed by coming up here, and I can click on this double-headed arrow and make things change back and forth. Another really useful thing in Illustrator. So let's move ahead. We're going to take the line segment tool here. You can get that by hitting the / key. Alright, and I'm going to draw from one anchor point through the center to the other. So this is a very useful function of the snap grid, or what was this called? That was called the smart guide, right? So that's smart guide being our friend there. So let's click on this. So now we have our line segment selected. We're going to come down here to the rotate tool, which is one of the really cool things that we're going to use in this tutorial. I'm going to click on that. So you'll notice there is a cyan kind of a registration mark here. If I zoom in here by holding down the space bar and the Control key, I get my magnifying glass and I can zoom way in. If I come in here and I click, holding down the Alt key, I'm going to get another dialog box. Okay, there we go. So, remember how I was saying that 16 was not a coincidence? Well, neither is 22.5. Because if I divide 365 by 16, I come up with 22.5. How about that? So let's hit copy. So now we've got two lines. I'm going to zoom out so you can see that. Cool thing in Illustrator, if I hit Control D, it will duplicate the last function. So here we go. Control D, and I just hit it a few times, and whoa, whoa, whoa. Now I have divided my polygon up into 16 equal segments. So we're just about to a good stopping point here. I'm going to go to Layers. You can get to Layers here through Windows. The Layer menu is right there. You can also type in the key command and hit F7, or you could hit this Layer palette if you would like. So you'll notice that Layer has a blue color. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a new layer. Alright, you'll notice that one has a red color. There's some functionality, organizational things going on here in our layer menu where if I select everything by drawing a culling box around it, you notice that everything turns blue. If I was to move this up here, everything's going to turn red. So depending on what color your layer is, you can kind of tell what you're working in. Another useful functionality in the layer menu is that you can lock things or you can hide things. By turning on and off the eye, it just simply hides them. It does not delete them. So now I have locked layer 1, and I'm going to make layer 2, and I'm going to call that shape 1. Alright, so we're going to say OK. You'll notice that up here it says untitled. Doesn't make me feel too good. Let's save this before something happens. So I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to save this to my place where I'm keeping all my Mandala files, and I'm going to call this tutorial 1. and I'm going to save it. This is all just some functionality. You can save different layers. This is called back saving. I think I originally started out on Adobe Illustrator 3 or 8 a long time ago. Been through all of these developments, and now we're up to CC 2017. You can create a PDF compatible file. There's all kinds of other functionality that you can do in here, but for now we can just say OK. Alright, so why don't we stop here with this video and resume in another video before anything else goes haywire. So, see you in a few minutes.